1, 2, 3. All right.
Perfect.
It's kind of like Animal House where they all check their clocks.
Right.
And John Belushi looks and it's like 4 hours off. It's like, all right, we're good to go. Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And joining us today is a very special guest from the podcast We Hate Movies, Eric Szyszka.
Hi, how are you? First of all, I want to thank you for having me here.
So happy to have you here.
Yeah, we're so pumped to have you here. I kind of talked your ear off before this show, and I've talked about the podcast in the past on this show, but We Hate Movies is one of the longer running podcasts out there, and it's one I've listened to for a great many years. One of the very first podcasts I listened to was We Hate Movies, and I still listen to that podcast to this day, and it's such a thrill to have you on, Eric. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, no, I mean, it's no problem at all. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're going to jump into talking Predator. So today we're talking minute 77 of Predator. Minute 77 opens with Dutch firing at the cloaked Predator, and it ends with Dutch exclaiming, "Oh, shit!
Oh, shit!
Oh, shit! Oh, shit!" as he slides down a hill. Whee!
I love that "oh shit," by the way.
Oh, shit!
It's just a well-placed "oh shit" is just amazing.
Oh, shit! Exactly. Just this good realization as we're sliding who knows where.
John, do we have any number 77s this week?
I threw a couple number 77s for you sports fans in there, partly because there are not a lot of 77s in sports, even though it's such an elegant number, right? It's the double seven. It's like lucky sevens. I threw Floyd Womack, otherwise known as Pork Chop, from the NFL. He's a longtime Seattle Seahawk, so that one's for Jeff.
Hey.
And Vladimir Radmanovich from the NBA, who wore 77 for a few different teams, including, of course, the Seattle Supersonics, R.I.P.
Hi, Sonics fans. This is Vladimir Radmanovich. If you're like me on these rainy Seattle nights, there's nothing better like curling up with a good book, Neil Diamond on the stereo, and a warm fleece blanket. What? You don't have a nice, warm fleece blanket, you say? Then you must come to our game on February 10th versus the Hawks, when the first 10,000 fans receive this incredible Sonics blanket. So get your tickets now at supersonics.com and join me in a state of bliss.
Good finds.
Hey, thanks.
I can only hope that one day my nickname is Pork Chop.
Well, better start eating.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Jeff, why don't you take us from the first part to the 15-second mark?
Sure. So, once again, we've broken this minute into two sections, and we'll talk about the first 15 seconds here or so. We carry over from last minute. Dutch is firing his M16 at the cloaked Predator, but he only hits the tree. Anna runs behind him. We think he's yelling "Run!" as he fires. After Dutch stops firing, the cloaked Predator fires his laser, destroying Dutch's M16. Dutch falls to the ground, yelling at Anna, "Run! Go! Get to the chopper!"
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
Anna runs out of the movie, and that brings the first part to a close.
Ooh. So, Eric, you being the guest, why don't you take it away? What are you noticing from this first part? Just anything.
Well, I mean, so you guys are saying now I've seen Predator so many times in my life, and I feel like any minute you fall into this movie, it feels like you're running with them immediately. I didn't realize that Anna disappears after this. She runs to, I guess, the chopper and vanishes. Does she not appear again in the film?
She appears at the very, very end in the chopper.
Okay.
But Right. For the purpose of making sure that Arnold and the Predator are going 1-to-1, she's out. She's the last of the team to leave.
This is the very abrupt switch in the movie, right? Like in just the last 2 minutes, we've had 3 team members killed. And now Dutch and Anna get separated. We get the iconic "Get to the chopper!"
Get to the chopper!
line, and all of a sudden, just like that, we're left with Dutch. We're left with Arnold alone in the jungle with the Predator. It happens so fast.
Yeah, no, I was privy to your guys' notes prior to this, so it's like I feel like that also influences my eye a little bit. And when you wrote about the blood there, that's like quite something. I never really noticed that before, that his blood is almost like Play-Doh consistency flying out of him.
It's pretty great.
So it's like he's trying to shoot the gun. I guess it works, but then there's some, I don't know what type of meat vein they struck within Schwarzenegger's bicep. It erupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
kind of wounded his right arm.
He's going to be all right.
I originally thought, I mean, like growing up watching this movie, I always thought, oh, the Predator hits him in the shoulder, but because it's Arnold, it doesn't cause any damage. And then I shift to...
I'm going to shake it off.
Walk it off, rub some dirt on it.
But then I think it's, his gun is in the way. Oh, now that breaks apart. But now watching it in slow motion, it looks like the Predator's just trying to shoot the gun out of his arm. We know the Predator has awesome aim. Look what he does to Dylan.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Blown his right arm off. And maybe you're thinking, oh, he's trying to do the same thing to Dylan or to Dutch that he did to Dylan. But then I'm thinking, no, that's not the case, because we know he has better aim than that. If he had to shoot around Dylan's weapon to blow his arm off, and he has good enough aim to shoot behind Dutch's head to kill Poncho last minute.
I mean, we know the Predator has exceptional aim with his laser sight. We know that he is privy to fucking with people and messing around with his prey and hunting for sport. So I am fully on board with the idea that he's taking aim at Dutch's weapon just to disarm him so that he can further hunt his human game, if you will.
Or maybe he was aiming at the meat vein and the gun is collateral damage.
And we all lucky enough to get the blood Play-Doh.
Meat vein struck gold. Stop digging. Yeah.
All right, so do we have anything else to add here about Dutch getting shot in the gun? I guess we should talk for a minute about this. This is one of the most iconic lines in the film. Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, I think this is the number one line from the film. I feel like a film with so many good lines, like "Stick around," "I ain't got time to bleed."
Stick around.
I ain't got time to bleed.
This one is the one that just carries on and on and on. You can find supercut clips on YouTube of Arnold, like his current age, saying it in different situations. He's just, and sometimes there's a chopper in the background. He's like, "Come on, get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper!"
It is like a cultural phenomenon. It's like "I'll be back" was obvious.
I'll be back.
Been there forever, and then like slowly, it's like the tortoise and the hare, and the tortoise is "Get to the chopper," and now I feel like you can't escape it.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, it's all over. It's, if you check the IMDb trivia, you all call it the Tribune.
Yes.
You'll find a lot of different references just to this line. It's something nutty, like 30 or 40 different references. Some of the references are just like, here's a game show, or not a game show, here's a talk show where somebody uttered the phrase, so we're going to put that in. But sometimes there are other movies, and I didn't find this line yet, but From London Has Fallen, apparently the American Mike Banning says it.
Let's get to the chopper!
I want to hear that. Did you guys ever break that down on We Hate Movies? London Has Fallen?
Olympus Has Fallen. We thought it would be funny to do that live in Washington, D.C., and the crowd was more or less okay with us making fun of them being shot by a North Korean murder plane. But then we did not do London Has Fallen, and we just recently did on the program the what's the new one? Angel Has Fallen. Yes. Yeah.
So many things have fallen.
So I actually forgot London Has Fallen. I saw it at some point, but I do not remember the get to the Choppa in that. But I guess it's there. I feel like American Mike is kind of like a pretty good modern equivalent to these type of Schwarzenegger movies like this and Commando.
Just bodies.
This is the line that even if people have never seen Predator or know anything about 80s action movies, they still know this line, right? Mm-hmm. Like even my students who are born in, 2005, if I say, get to the chopper! Get to the chopper! Like, they'll laugh. They know that line as being like a famous Arnold Schwarzenegger line. Although they probably couldn't even tell you the movie, but they know that line.
That's still amazing.
Right.
I'm glad that someone is teaching the youth of America what is important.
Right. I agree. Yeah, that's why we're out there. We're doing the Lord's work.
Absolutely.
You'll ever hear a Predator.
Well, it is a movie for kids, right? I always say that. I mean, my very first two R-rated movies I ever saw was RoboCop and Predator.
Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
I saw them both way too young, and look now, 30 years later, I'm recording a hit podcast about it.
There is nothing like I was about to say there's nothing wrong about bringing children to an R-rated movie, but I guess there might be. I grew up going to every single R-rated movie. My parents did not care.
Oh, my parents had HBO, and there was very little oversight.
Same. I had the whole package.
Yes.
I just had the Scramble channel.
You had Showtime and you had the movie channel, and
I did, yeah.
Yeah, we did too. And I would stay up late when I was like, 12 or 13. That's around the age when you're allowed to stay up.
Prime time.
And yeah, God, the shit that I watched, I guess it's influenced me.
Oh, yeah. I would stay up so late just watching any type of weird fucking shit. And then eventually, as an adult, I ended up working at Showtime recently for over 7 years. And I was then in charge of putting shit like Predator on the air and like not in charge of scheduling the programming, but in the actual operational sense where I would receive the digital file or back when I first started HD cam and process it to get it ready for air. And it was an interesting dichotomy there because as a kid, I had such reverence for the channel, for the films, for the movie, everything that's going on there. And then as an adult working there now, like in 2019 was my last year there. And it's just like, no one's watching this shit anymore. Everyone's watching it on streaming or they have Blu-rays or whatever, but no one's watching 2 o'clock in the morning at Showtime, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, if you are doing that, I commend you.
I am not. I'm not. I'm like the rest of the world. I've moved on to streaming services. Did you have some early late night watches that you remember as being influential to you?
I don't know if it's influential. I do. I have a distinct memory of being a kid watching The Dark Backward. That is a movie with Judd Nelson and I believe Bill Paxton, and it's a very scuzzy movie.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Joe Bob Briggs on the movie channel?
I did, he had yeah. Yes. And then when he went to TNT with Monster Vision, I think it was.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, totally. I watched all that stuff.
That was hugely influential for me. I would stay up on, I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday nights that show aired, but man, that introduced me to some weird, crazy shit that I shouldn't have been watching when I was 11 or 12. I have a distinct memory of watching Street Trash at 1 a.m. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but there's a scene where one guy tears the dick off of another guy and throws it over a fence.
I'm pretty sure I saw it. I feel like I saw that and The Stuff recently, sort of back to back, and it might have blurred together a little bit, but yeah. Totally.
Sure, yeah. The dick throwing scene haunted me for years, and it took me until I was in my 20s to figure out what movie it was from.
You ever see Night of the Demon? It's like a Bigfoot movie, and Bigfoot rips a dude's dick off.
Oh, I've seen Night of the Demons. but not a Bigfoot movie called Night of the Demon. No, I'm gonna have to check that out because obviously I like dick ripping movies.
There is a 75% chance that is an actual movie, and what I said is factual, but I believe it is.
Okay. I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, go Google dick ripping right now.
I have to know. Yeah, I want to make I'm gonna make a double or triple feature of movies that feature dick ripping.
And, after you rip off the dick, you know what you got to do then? Get to the balls.
Ow! Oh.
To the balls. Oh man. Good stuff. Yeah, I was a big USA Up All Night watcher, and there's also some weird stuff. Like you'd have like really, really like C movie level, crime films or monster movies. Oh yeah, and that stuff was just it was awful, but just tantalizing as a kid.
Was that the Gilbert Gottfried one?
It was. There was a woman who was hosting, a blonde woman, and then I think Gilbert Gottfried came later. But I think I was watching with the blonde host. I can't remember her name. She would say USA Up All Night.
All night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm convinced though that it's that kind of shit that makes us all the movie nerds that we are today. Like those, it's always people that had no oversight about their viewing habits when they were young, and they watched a whole bunch of shit way too early, and it got stuck in their brains, and it just carried on from there. And whenever I talk to other people that love movies and genre films and are nerdy about movies, I feel like it always comes back to they have similar stories about watching shit late at night when they shouldn't have been. It's like a shared experience that everyone our age kind of has, and from the cable era.
Yeah, and I worry that like with streaming and all that, there's so many options like Amazon Prime. There's just so much. Like, are we going to get that shared experience in this next generation, or is the viewing so like spread across? Like, there's so many fucking ninja movies on there now. Like,
right?
There's no curation almost. Like people are going to forget maybe about some of these crazy '80s movies that we grew up on.
It's so true. It's hard to have a shared experience when there's 50 different streaming platforms that all have totally different libraries. And we were focused onto 2 or 3 cable channels, right, at certain time slots of the day. It's interesting. I don't know what current generations are going to grow up with.
Yeah. I think stuff has to be trending now for people to have that shared narrative, and then more and more people will hop on and check it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, have we moved on to the second half of the minute?
Sure. Why don't you take us away, Jeff? What happens here after the get to the Choppa line?
Get to the chopper!
All right. Well, we're going to pick things up here at about second 16 and take this all the way to the end. Dutch crawls away from our poor friend, dead Ponchito, rest in peace, and begins running through the jungle. And we get some cuts back and forth between Predator, infrared vision, and Dutch running. Really great, we'll talk about it a bit, but really great tracking shots through the jungle here. I can't imagine that this was easy to pull off. But anyway, Dutch runs, back to Predator, back to Dutch. This back and forth continues, and then we get as he slides and pushes down a sudden unseen slope, and we see Dutch's face as he yells, "Oh shit!" And the minute cuts off right there as he's sliding down the hill.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen at the end. I'm pretty much on the edge of my seat. I don't know. Is he just going to hit the bottom of a hill here, and he's going to have to keep running, or maybe something else is going to come up?
The music in this movie is kind of really unbelievable. This score really gets you going.
We've talked a lot about the score. It's really, really effective. Yeah.
Yes, it does more heavy lifting than probably any other movie score I can really think of.
Yeah, because it's such a dialogue light movie, and John McTiernan really, really wanted to lean on the score. He says over and over in his commentary that the score really has to paint a picture of how the team members are feeling. And in this case, it's using the end of what of a track called Billy Stands Alone, which started with Billy standing alone on the log and then him dying and then Panchito being shot in the head and they get to the chopper line. And here it picks up with a callback to the girl's escape when Anna hits Panchito in the face with the log long time ago, like I'm talking minute 41, so more than half an hour ago. But when that chase ensues between Anna and Hawkins, this very same exact piece of the track plays. This dun 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 dun. It mirrors it down to the side shots of Dutch matching Hawkins and Anna. These behind the chase shots where the Predator is chasing Hawkins in infrared is also the same kind of shot where the Predator is chasing Dutch in infrared. It's a crazy callback if you're paying attention. I don't think watching it through, 0 to minute 107 that I would catch the mirroring that I'm seeing in this minute by minute breakdown. But here it's a really cool reminder that this is how the Predator killed the first of the team, was this exact kind of situation.
So was minute 41 like a year ago for you guys?
Yeah, gosh, what was that, 36 weeks ago? So
now, question:
Jesus,
are you guys
almost
watching Predator constantly, or do you just do the minute by minute? Like, yeah, I remember Predator, or do you watch it like weekly? What is your routine?
Jeff, you want to go ahead?
I before we started this project, I watched the movie several times in its entirety. After already have seen it, I don't know, God knows how many times before in my life. Now, as we have kind of gone through this minute by minute, I like to only watch the minute that we're going to discuss.
Right.
And I'll just watch that minute several times over. And I try not to watch ahead. I remember what's going to happen next, but every once in a while I'm actually surprised because I don't remember exactly what's going to happen next. And it really helps me focus in on just what's happening in this section.
I do, for the most part, exactly what Jeff is doing, but sometimes on those, longer viewing sessions, I might look ahead to the next minute just to remind myself, okay, what happens next? Just to maybe, do I need to tie this to the minute I'm looking at now? And then I look at the next minute, and then I just watch the rest of the movie because it's just, I don't know, it's just every time I watch it.
This movie can suck you in.
Even just reading the script, like the actual movie, the shooting script for it is sometimes exciting enough to where I'm like, okay, I want to see what happens next. and it's like, that's reading a script of a movie, which is really hard to do. It's really hard to pull someone in with a piece of writing. I would say a good, I don't know, any kind of screenplay. But yeah, I watch just little bits and pieces, usually like Jeff. I do a little bit of the research, right? I'm looking at behind the scenes stuff too. So I might watch a few different scenes to help with the behind the scenes.
Yeah. And then I try to come up with dick and fart jokes to sprinkle in.
Those are important.
And you do.
Those are important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
So John, you mentioned the parallelism with the previous chase scene here. And I am once again impressed by the camera work that's happening with John McTiernan as a director. We get this kind of tracking shot. I think it's a tracking shot as we follow Arnold side by side through the jungle, where we have this large swath of trees in between Arnold and the camera. And I just think about how difficult that must have been to put together because they're filming in an actual jungle. And then the continuity of them jumping straight to the Predator vision of him also running through the jungle infrared and then back to him running through the jungle. I think it's really effective in building the suspense here. And the camera gets closer and closer and closer to Arnold before he finally slips and falls on this, chute or hill that he hits.
Yeah, it's just top-notch editing, especially for an action movie, which I imagine are notoriously hard to edit because you're trying to keep everything in continuity, and they're doing an awesome job here, and they do an awesome job throughout the whole film of keeping continuity so that you're not really disoriented at all. As much as they want to keep you claustrophobic feeling throughout the movie, they do want you to know what's happening, and they use a good variety of the wide angle where you can see the surroundings and the narrow. so you can, I don't know, more focus on the action.
I love the Predator vision. And just like going from your usual green and brown jungle to suddenly having like this blue and red, it's very striking.
It's very striking. It's very, I think it's very vulnerable because you might be wearing camouflage materials or have some stripes painted on your face, thinking that you're hidden enough. But right, if you know that the Predator can see exactly where you are anywhere in a location, right, you're going to feel hopeless. You're going to feel a certain amount of despair, especially as the viewer at first. And then if you're putting yourself in their shoes, then you're trying to run through your head like survival scenarios. You're like, well, I just don't have anything. I'll just run away like Dutch. Just run.
I would die. That's fine. Yeah.
Immediately.
I would die leaving the chopper in the first couple of scenes.
I mean, if I'm going to be murdered in the woods, it might as well be from an alien, right?
Yep.
I would have been yelling at Anna to drag me to the chopper. Don't run to the chopper.
Pick me up. What are you doing? Come on.
Put me on your back.
Put your legs into it. Come on, Anna.
You skipped leg day. Oh.
So this is a question. How did Anna know where to go? He says get to the chopper. Was there maybe a scene, I guess, where they shared all this information together? They pointed at a map and said, okay, if we're separated, here's where we meet? Because
I wouldn't wish that on a broke dick dog.
She hauls ass out of there. She's like, see ya. I know where I'm going.
That's what I assume. I assume that at some point in scene that didn't happen on camera, they looked at a map and discussed where they were going. And her being a native of this jungle, probably knew exactly where that spot was. So I assume that she had in her head their final destination.
Hey.
It's
a movie.
Yeah, if you escape the Predator, you mysteriously die somehow in some other fashion. Cameo as the Predator is like the funeral director. It's like, whoa.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
We are gathered here today.
This is one of the few places where you have... Not one of the few places. Well, I guess this is one of the few places you'll find deleted scenes from this movie is from Arnold escaping. And I'm glad they cut it all. But at all the same, it's fun to watch the deleted scenes and think about what could have been. There's a scene particularly where he's rolling away at first and he rolls into, I guess, a den of spiders and they crawl all over his back like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I think is kind of hilarious and takes you out of the tension.
Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. The spiders are interesting. Watching this deleted scene, I never saw it before, but it adds a little. I understand why they cut it. And I think it's good because why slow this sequence down? But exactly, it adds that tension where it's like, well, he's going to have to put up with this shit on him just to survive.
And you kind of get that look on his face too. Like he looks back and sees the spiders. And his face doesn't break for a minute, and then he kind of like does this sort of like, fuck, now this.
Right.
I got spiders on my back.
I was picturing like a quiet place where he knows he can't make a noise.
Right.
But yeah, I guess you can't make a sudden movement.
Stop it, this blanket is too loud. When I put it down to put out the fire, the blanket gets loud. I always just remember the trailers for A Quiet Place, and it's just like putting out a fire sounded so loud. I guess that was the point. It's just
doing everything.
Everything.
It's a loud blanket.
Stepping on nails.
I can't get Indiana Jones quotes out of my head spoken by Arnold. It belongs in a museum.
So do you.
All right. So if we had nothing more on this section, I was going to talk briefly about the 3-act structure of this film.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Oh, one hilarious insertion of John Wick commentary going on right now. He just rambles so much. I don't know, Eric, if you've listened to the commentary for this track.
I have not.
I mean, it's not worth a listen, in my opinion. You learn very little about the behind the scenes. I don't think overall John McTiernan really cares for this movie. I think he sees it as like a dumb popcorn flick, which I don't know. I think he is way wrong about that.
Yeah, it's pretty insane because what else did he do again? Die Hard?
Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, the third Die Hard, Last Action Hero, the 13th Warrior, Rollerball.
I can understand having the reverence for something like Die Hard, but this is like, to me, this is up there, if not superior.
I agree. I think this is superior. I just love the storytelling in this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in this track, he's rambling about Stan Winston bringing in the new suit, and they're having to rework the creature design when they first see the original suit. So he's talking all out of order or whatever, and then he just mentions Kevin Peter Hall, and he goes, "He's dead now." That's it. And then he stops talking for the rest of this minute. He just sits and watches the movie.
From Stan Winston, he brought in a kid named Kevin Peter Hall. He's dead now.
He watches a lot of the movie with the audience in his
This makes me want to do a commentary track to like a classic movie, like Casablanca or something like. Yeah, he's Humphrey Bogart's dead.
He's dead now.
This guy there, background right there, he's dead.
He's dead now.
that guy's dead.
He's dead now.
That lady's dead.
He's dead now.
That guy's in hospice, so
it's a good movie.
Yeah. By the time this commentary comes out, that guy on hospice, he's dead.
He's dead now.
All right, so tell us about 3-act structure.
Yeah, we've brought this up before at various points in this podcast, but I think this film follows a classic 3-act structure. The act. The 3-act structure is typically created by 3 sections. The first is generally referred to as the setup.
You set us up. It's all bullshit.
I think in this film, that's the first half hour of the movie or so as we learn the characters and they move towards the guerrilla camp and then subsequently blow that shit up. The second act of a 3-act structure is typically marked by a confrontation of some sort. And I think that is the section that we have just watched for the last 30 minutes or so, where they have one goal in mind, which is to get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper!
And get out of the jungle. And so the film is following their path through the jungle, but they run into a confrontation. They run into a problem, which is a deadly alien trying to kill them all. And then the third act of a film is typically the ramp up and the resolution to that confrontation. And it's my contention that we have, with the departing of Anna, and what we're left with, we're going to find out, is just Arnold, just Dutch at this point. This, to me, officially begins Act 3 of the film, where we're going to get resolution to that confrontation. And one might argue that in a couple minutes, so spoiler alert, but Arnold's going to, in a little bit, get covered in mud and learn that gives him a slight advantage over the Predator.
Whoa, spoiler.
Spoiler. Some might argue that is the turning point. For me, this is the moment, because this is when the rest of the team is officially gone and we are left with just our protagonist, Dutch, alone in the jungle and wounded and flying out off of a hill. So this is generally in Act 2, you run into problem after problem after problem, and it peaks with the biggest problem of them all. And that is what's happening here. Dutch has himself a very big problem. The rest of his team has been killed. His guide, Anna, is gone, and he's now sliding out of control down a hill towards God knows what.
Absolutely. This is like the all hope is lost moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is you could maybe think of it as the apex of Act 2.
Apex
but
Predator.
I think it really... Apex Predator. I think it really marks the transition into that third part of the film. So there you go. I'm done with my film paper now, but that's what I was thinking about while watching this section.
See me after class.
Your essay is due on Monday.
Yeah, well done. I think, like everything you said, I think when we put this up against other action movies or other horror movies, you can really lose all your momentum in that third act when you know it's just the final girl, in this case Arnold. When you have the final girl,
who you calling a girl?
When you have that final girl going up against the bad guy, sometimes you can lose that momentum in a movie because there's a lot less tension because you've seen the rest of the team be killed off. You basically know how it's going to end. And you're looking at the clock, like 25 minutes left. Like, I know that this is going to end. How are they going to drag this out? But they do a really good job in this movie. We've been kind of saying it time and time again of keeping the tension tight, of using the jungle as a character to forward the story, and then ultimately, of course, spoiler alert, reveal the Predator, this monster we've wanted to see this whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're one ugly son of a bitch.
He is too. Yeah, it's worth it. So, did you guys have anything else to add for minute 77?
I think we've done it. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I would like to add the following. Again, the oh shit is excellent. It's excellent. Oh shit.
Oh yeah, when he shot in the shoulder, that is a great. As he falls.
Oh yeah, it's top tier.
Top tier. So, Eric, what is your history with this movie, Predator, 1987?
You know, I couldn't even tell you the first time I saw it. I feel like I was just born into it or something. But my household was very much an Arnold house. It wasn't.
Yes.
We didn't fuck with Sly as much. It was a big Arnold house. So I saw all of his movies basically in a constant rotation. And of course, watching this late at night, it's just. I don't know. It's one of those movies that I feel it. Like I've always known it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It is a movie that you can jump in at any moment. If it's on cable and you run into it, like I'm sitting down and watching it.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have a favorite character from the film?
Obviously Schwarzenegger, Dutch, but also the Predator. I always thought the Predator design was really cool. I love the cloaking and once it's revealed and you see like the armor face mask. I always loved masks in film because I never wanted to have a face. And unfortunately, I guess now if this COVID pestilence continues, maybe we will be forced to wear a mask, but I would prefer not to be forced. I'd rather be an eccentric weirdo or an outer space alien.
Thanks, Obama. Yeah.
So we'll see you walking down the streets in a Predator mask if it comes to masks for everybody.
Exactly. I'll be the one guy in dead New York when we're walking down the street with a Predator mask.
That's the one thing that works now is you can wear a Predator mask for protection.
I'll put on my Jason mask and we can wave at each other as we walk by 6 feet apart.
We're going to have GM pumping out millions of Predator masks for people to wear for protection.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of ugly mother effers.
You one ugly motherfucker.
Wouldn't it be so dystopian that we like have to rely on like Party City now for face masks?
It's essential. It's an essential store. We have to keep it open.
It is essential. I'm here to party. I'm the party pooper.
I'm the party pooper.
Okay. How about a favorite line? Do you have a favorite line, Eric?
Well, I think my favorite line from the movie's better than this line, but for some reason it always sticks with me from just how it can roll off the tongue, and it's "stick around."
Stick around.
That's my favorite line.
Oh, really?
Stick around.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, we recorded it and made a big deal of it, and that's how we end every podcast.
Stick around.
He just the quick throw, the quick shot of him dispatching Sven Ole Thorsen and just the "stick around."
Stick around.
Stick around.
Oh, it's such a good scene, and I know it's one of his favorite lines from the movie, but Arnold says his all-time favorite line he ever said is this minute 77 quote, "Get to the choppa."
Get to the chopper!
Nice.
It's great, and it's iconic because of Schwarzenegger. Like, if anyone else said "get to the chopper," like, I just don't think it would resonate.
Let's get to the chopper! Get to the chopper!
They tried it in The Predator, and I don't know if you saw that one,
I
Eric.
did, and it was very disappointing.
It was I was so excited in the beginning when like the spaceships are kind of battling over Earth. I was like, okay, this is a cool direction. This is cool, a little Star Warsy. And then it just goes right downhill as soon as the Predator lands. I was so disappointed. And then the guy in the movie, Trevante Williams, he says, let's get to the choppers. And he's talking about a bunch of motorcycles. I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
How do you guys feel about Predator 2?
I love Predator 2.
Yes, this is that's the correct opinion. That is a fun.
I think if we continue,
movie. I've always loved it. That's another one that I watched over and over again as a kid, as a teenager. And I recognize its flaws, but I can't deny my love for it. And the cast is just fucking incredible. Like, I love that movie.
I think if we were to continue the project, if we were to do a second movies by minute breakdown, it would probably be Predator 2.
So much Gary Busey and Bill Paxton.
I know. And Danny Glover.
Oh
my gosh.
And voodoo gangsters. What the?
Yeah, this is Gary Busey. I'm working for the government. Hunting an alien.
A fucking alien.
I've got some giant teeth. Check out these teeth, you guys.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
And so many pleated pants in that movie. Oh, yeah. My God. Yeah.
And it's
so many hot takes of LA.
Yeah, it takes place in the shitty future, which is somehow better than the current one.
Right. We all long for the Predator 2 version of the future.
Exactly.
All right, John, should we get to recommends here and wrap this thing up?
Let's hop over to recommends for a quick moment. So, Eric and the listeners, we spend a little bit of time recommending things to the audience, whether that be movies, shows, books, sometimes shoes or recipes. Just, anything you could think of that you could.
I got two television shows, old ones. I recently started a Battlestar Galactica rewatch. The 2004 series. And I'm really enjoying going back through it from the start while under quarantine. So there's that. And TJ Hooker. If anyone has seen TJ Hooker, it's similar to this film in that it's like TJ Hooker seems like he's an outer space monster and he's just terrorizing this city of people as a police officer. And yes, I'm going to then plug my podcast. Go to tjhookerpodcast.com. I've been recapping every episode because I need more useless shit to do. The show is called Hooked on TJ Hooker, and you can find it on iTunes or wherever you find podcasts.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to put that in the queue. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Hooked on TJ
Hooker. Okay, I guess that's my turn then, huh?
Yep.
All right, I will recommend. You know what? I'm going to recommend a horror movie, shocking, that I watched recently, and it's called The Hunt.
That just came out, right?
It just came out. Yeah, you can. It was supposed to be in theaters, but they've released it for streaming purposes now, so they can hopefully make some money on it. And it's the classic story of 12 strangers dropped into a strange place, and they all realize they're being hunted by rich assholes. And it's a combination horror, but also with a lot of comedy in it. And I just had a blast with it. I didn't go in expecting a whole lot, but it's funny, it's gory, and it never really stops moving. And so it was a really great kind of just quick 90 minutes of gory, silly fun. So check out The Hunt. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, where did you say that was?
It's streaming. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay like a premium price because it's like a movie theater movie.
Oh, okay. I know this movie. This is the one that was really upsetting a lot of online people.
Yeah, honestly, it's more of a comedy than anything else, but maybe I just have a dark sense of humor.
Okay. Wasn't it like the way the trailer put it out there, it made it seem like it was about killing Trump supporters?
Well, it sort of flips the switch on that idea. Like, you kind of find out that a lot of the people that are being killed are on the conservative end of the spectrum, and then the people doing the killing are on the other end of the spectrum. But it sort of pokes fun at everybody because now all the liberals have these guns and they're wanting to go hunting, and Yeah, so they play around with those tropes a bit. So I can't. I mean, if you're, I can't imagine being offended by this movie because it's so ridiculous and silly. So
sure,
folks,
that's my
the
take.
loony left are coming. They're gonna kill you. And little Chuck Schumer, he's hunting.
They're gonna take your guns and turn them on you. So there it is, The Hunt. Check it out.
Check it out. All right.
What do you got, John?
Last week I received a lot of scorn from Jeff for recommending Gilmore Girls, but sticking with that. So eat it, Jeff.
I've still never
this
seen
week.
it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. You're living in a small town in New York, Eric.
Yeah.
I think you'd find a lot of similarities between what the show is putting out there in terms of like small town quirky folk and where you are. I live in a small town as well in Washington, and my wife and I see a lot of like little similarities here and there. What'd you say, Jeff?
My wife.
My wife.
My wife.
Almost snuck in.
Snuck into my wife.
My wife.
But this week I've been I've been binge watching season 3 of Ozark, which is...
Oh, that was the other thing I almost recommended.
Oh, good thing you didn't. I was going to recommend Gilmore Girls a second time. But Ozark is just this dark crime show with Jason Bateman and Laura Linney running it. I would say you could draw some comparisons to Breaking Bad a little bit, and that you have like a mostly comedic actor playing this really deadly serious role. But I want to say Breaking Bad had a few more humorous moments in it, like thinking back on it, whereas this one has very, very few moments of levity. You're just feeling bad for all the characters, and I don't know. I don't know what else I could say about this show, Jeff. If you want to say a few things, but I highly recommend it. You're right. You can't look away, is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to find out. Like as the story progresses, they get deeper and deeper into the mess they're in, and you just kind of want to find out where it's going to go. I'm totally hooked on that show.
I haven't seen it yet either. Did you guys watch Tiger King yet?
Oh, I'm 3 episodes in.
Oh, it's good.
So good.
What in the world is Tiger King?
Oh, take it away, Eric. What is Tiger King?
It's about a bunch of crazy people that just have tigers and lions and shit and set up like fake zoos, and then they all want to like murder each other. It's pretty entertaining, and it's true to life. It's because it's real.
Oh.
And there's like surprise homosexual polygamy. Like it just hits you out of nowhere.
There are a lot of twists and turns that you do not see coming, especially for a documentary series.
Weird.
It's on Netflix.
It's crazy. It's this crazy like cross section of the world, this subculture that exists of all these like competing private zoo owners that have wild cats, that have big cats. It's crazy.
Oh.
But it's awesome. Check it out. It's a really fun documentary.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
So thanks for recommending things, guys. Appreciate that. Now, Eric, feel free to plug away at all the projects you're juggling these days.
Yeah, there's too many, but just, you can find me on Twitter at ERICSZYSZKA, and obviously We Hate Movies is available on WHMpodcast.com. I already mentioned the TJ Hooker thing, but on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/WeHateMovies, we have done Predator as a commentary track. And if you want to get a taste of what that would be like, you could go to our YouTube page, which is, I guess YouTube channel. Saying page dates me. YouTube.com/WeHateMovies.
Angelfire.com.
Geos it is.
HTTP : no, not the backslash now, and www.go, which is GEO. CITIES for cities now .com/wiggly line member / I'll stop.
Now, is that pronounced GeoCities or is that GeoCities?
I always said GeoCities, but that might be.
I always said
GeoCities
too. I always said GeoCities too, but I don't know.
I was an Angel Fire fan. If you couldn't tell,
I could tell. I could tell.
Yeah, you're definitely an Angel Fire guy.
I made on Angel Fire back in 03.
Smell that Angel Fire on you a mile away.
It smells good. And Jeff, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm on the Twitter, Jeff Glover, Carl_Hungus314.
My name is College Bin Expert.
Come follow me there, Twitter sphere. John, where can we find all things Predator Minute?
You can find Predator Minute on Twitter at Predator Minute. You can email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com, or you can join the Facebook discussion group, Predator Minute Listeners.
Palapa!
Target the center of the pull-up.
Target the center of the palapa!
Target's the center of the palapa!
Target the center of the pull-up. But Eric, before we sign out, I also wanted to point out a podcast you used to do called Blame It on Outer Space. Do you still do that? I used to listen to that.
Yeah, I don't currently. I've been looking at ways to potentially resurrect it in some capacity. Maybe as like a video show, maybe it's a call-in show. I don't really know yet. That was a show I used to host on conspiracy theories and stuff, and I kind of stopped having as big of interest these past couple of years because the world is ending and all the conspiracy theory. It's just it got oversaturated almost. But I have sometimes periodically been reading creepy pastas on my Instagram. So that's also ERICSZYSZKA. But yeah, so sometimes I dip my toes in, but nothing in an official podcast capacity quite yet.
Pretty cool though, because Jesse Ventura is in this movie. Big conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, on that show, Blame It on Outer Space. I mean, I got to get this archive up eventually so people can listen to these again. But we had James Adomian play Jesse Ventura on an episode.
Is that the guy that does the amazing impression?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
he's such a nice guy, such a great guy. I didn't know him that well, but I was kind of in New York when he was doing stuff in New York. He's such a sweet guy. I really love him, and I love his comedy.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I think that's all we have. So for Predator Minute, I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
I've been Eric Szyszka.
And till next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
All right, pausing recording.
Cut.